So this morning, we're going to be reading a pretty familiar story. I bet you guys have heard this story before. It's about after the children of Israel were taken out of the land of Egypt. What were they doing in the land of Egypt? Do you remember? They were being slaves, so it's good. They were getting out of there. And what were they told they were going to go do? Do you guys remember? What did the Lord tell the children of Israel? Where were they going? It was to a very special land, and he gave us a description. He said that the land was flowing with milk and honey. Seems kind of strange, doesn't it? What? You have a question? I think so. Have you ever had milk and honey together? I bet it tastes really good too. I bet it tastes really good because you get the sweetness of the honey and then the milk all together. It's going to be wonderful. And that's exactly what the Lord was trying to tell the children of Israel. It's going to be this wonderful place. Well, about a year after they left Egypt, they were just on the south side of the land of Canaan. And so they were right there. And they decided they needed to go in and spy out the land. What was it like? So this is from the book of Numbers, chapter 13. It says, "Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, 'Send men to spy out the land of Canaan, which I am giving to the children of Israel. From each tribe of their fathers you shall send a man, every one a leader among them.' So Moses sent them from the wilderness of Paran, according to the commandment of the Lord, all of the men who were heads of the children of Israel." And then it goes through a long list of all of the different people from each tribe that was going to be sent there. So can we remember some of the tribes of Israel? I think there was Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah. Can we remember any other names? Like Issachar? Kind of interesting names. So from each tribe they sent one person. Two of them were really important. One is named Caleb, and the other one is named Joshua. So skipping down to verse 17, it says that Moses sent them to spy out the land of Canaan and said to them, "Go up this way into the south and up into the mountains and see what the land is like, whether the people who dwell in it are strong or weak, whether there are few or many, whether the land that they dwell in is good or bad, whether the cities they inhabit are like camps or like strongholds, whether the land is rich or poor, whether it be that there are forests or not, and be of good courage and bring back some of the fruit of that land." So they went up and they spied out the land from the wilderness of Zin as far as Rehob, near the entrance of Hamath. And they went up through the south and came to Hebron. And there they saw the descendants of Anak. Do you know what the descendants of Anak are? You remember the story about David fighting against somebody really, really big? What was that story, Ella? Right, so David fought a guy named Goliath, right? He was really big. He was like 9.5 feet tall, like taller than I can reach. And he was a son of Anak. So they're saying there are giants in this land. So they came to the valley of Eshcol, and there they cut down a branch with one cluster of grapes. They carried it between two of them on a pole. And they also brought some of the pomegranates and figs. The place of the valley of Eshcol was called that because of the cluster which the men of Israel cut down there. And they returned from spying out the land after 40 days. Now when they came back, they were talking to Moses and Aaron and giving a report to the people. It says, "Then they told them and said, 'We went to the land where you sent us. It truly flows with milk and honey, and this is its fruit. Nevertheless, the people who dwell in the land are strong, and the cities are fortified and very large. Moreover, we saw the descendants of Anak there. The Amalekites dwell in the south of the land. The Hittites and the Jebusites and the Amorites dwell in the mountains, and the Canaanites dwell by the sea and along the banks of the Jordan.' Then Caleb quieted the people before Moses and said, "Let us go up at once and take this possession, for we are able to overcome it." But the men who had gone with them said, "We are not able to go up against the people, for they are stronger than we are." And they gave the children of Israel a bad report of the land which they had spied out, saying that the land through which we have gone as spies is a land that devours its inhabitants, and all the people whom we saw in it are men of great stature. There we saw the giants. The descendants of Anak came from giants, and they were like grasshoppers in our sight. We were like grasshoppers in our own sight, and so we were in their sight. So how does this land sound between what Caleb said to them versus what the other spies said to them? What did Caleb say? Caleb said, "Let's go get it," right? He was excited. Why do you think Caleb was excited to go into the land and take it? He is a conqueror. Any other thoughts? How do you think that they would have defeated these giants?
Bigger people with smaller minds but very strong. Smaller people with bigger minds not very strong.
That's a great answer. So you have the giants. Maybe they had just little small minds and they weren't very smart, but all the children of Israel might have been little, but they had big minds. That's a very good possibility, but the simple answer is that the Lord was with them. Caleb kept on telling them that the Lord was with them, so we can win. But everybody else was afraid. They were afraid of these big giants. They were afraid. What are you guys afraid of? Are you guys afraid of anything? Afraid of dying. So that might be, they're worried about dying. Because if they go into the land, they're afraid that these big guys are going to come kill them, right? Anything else that we're afraid of? Snakes? I've heard that it was actually snake biting season because they're in heat. So I'm a little scared of them right now too. Yeah, one more. Oh yeah, being bitten by the cobras and things like that. One more, and then we'll move on a little. Yeah.
Get bitten by a queen snake.
Yeah, being bitten by a queen snake. We're all about the snakes today. So they were worried about all the bad things that they saw in the land, right? But Caleb knew there was so much good there. It was a land flowing with milk and honey, and they actually brought back some of the good stuff. You remember what they brought back? They brought back a cluster of grapes, and they brought back figs, and they brought back pomegranate. Have you guys seen pomegranates before?
No, but yes, but I haven't tasted.
Oh, so we'll have to try them. And then we have some fig here. This is what a fig looks like on the inside. Isn't that beautiful? Now this is a big cluster of grapes. Isn't that an awesome cluster of grapes? Well, imagine one big enough that they had to carry it between two people on a pole. So maybe a cluster of grapes this big. Wouldn't that be amazing to see? So they brought back grapes, and they brought back figs, and they brought back pomegranates. And each one of these has a special meaning. I'm actually going to get a towel here so I don't actually accidentally get some on my shirt. Pomegranates are very different than most other fruits. You see, these ones, we can just take them off and eat them, right? Same thing with figs. You might have the skin to peel off a little bit. But to get to the fruit in a pomegranate, see what that looks like? Each little teeny seed has its own fruit around it. So it's not like this is one fruit. It's like one fruit that contains hundreds of little teeny fruits. Yeah? There's a story, about a pomegranate filled with gold fruits inside. Would you guys like to try a little bit? Oh, that's an old prop from something else. You want to try a little bit? You can take a little bit out. Now there are seeds inside each one of these, but they're like little teeny fruits.
Can I try a grape?
Yep. They're pretty good. So each one of these was something really special about the land. Get the seed out of my mouth here. What do you think grapes are kind of like? Because they're pretty easy to share with other people, right? We could just pass these around and people can just take one off. They're really easy to share. Well, grapes represent the ways that we try to help and love other people. It's the goods of charity. Now, figs are kind of basic things. They're very earthly. If you look at the outside, they kind of look like dirt, right? And they're really sweet, but they're kind of gritty. You want to try a little fig? No, thank you? All right. So, each one of these has a different meaning. So the figs actually have to do with like really basic things like taking care of our needs, our necessities, so that we can do good things of charity. Pomegranates are kind of special. Does this kind of look like maybe our brains on the inside? Does that kind of look like our brains? Have you ever seen a pomegranate and thought, that looks like a brain? All the little channels and things like that. Well, pomegranates are all of the things that we know about how to do good things for other people. It's like all the little ideas that we've learned over time and from the Lord's Word, so that when there's a chance for us to do something good, we go, I know how to do that, and we go and do it. So pomegranate is a very important one because it's all about how we learn from the Lord how to do good. And that's why each individual little seed, which is like a truth or an idea, is covered in its own fruit. So these are pretty cool things that they brought back from spying out the land. But sometimes we're afraid to do good things. Sometimes we are. And so that's why they were afraid of going up and taking the land. Yeah? Yeah, so you were afraid of telling your dad that you broke something of his, right? Well, that would have been the right thing to do and a good thing to do, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, that's really good. And you wrote him a letter eventually. That's nice. So you had an idea. You knew what was right, but you were afraid to do it at first. That's a great example of being right on the edge of the land of Canaan, but being afraid to go in. That's a really great analogy. Thank you for that.